Say grace. Let's see. Food for thought, let me draw the broth. A bully on the beat, like the door stop. If these chickens still on beat,
About to get started here.
before I leave, they become vegans when I shoot the chop. Let it simmer, now the soup is hot. Check the temperature before they smoke the top. Who's coding up the measure if they cool or not? Ask them who the next upload, then they blew the pot. You only care for the stove when I'm in the range. These dishes in the kitchen talking different plays. It's feeling like a freaking train. It's the base. Suck your macros and nutrition. Strain. We can try angles and get it safe. I heard it was a
What's going on? What's going on?
Train never put us on. Let me get it, train. I used to think. Train on the air on the.
I'm gonna start doing those requests as I get more comfortable with the lives and the switching. So I probably won't do it tonight, but in a few segments I do plan on bringing people on. So I want to actually hear from y'all in real time. I don't exactly know how it works, and I have a few streams going, and I have a few streams going on right now. So I want to make sure I keep everything going the way that it should be going right now. All right, what's going on, man? I apologize for coming in a little bit late tonight. Tonight it actually wasn't my fault. Computer started updating unexpectedly. Hold on, let me kill that. All right, so we're gonna talk about civil liberties and why the Constitution should be important. And I actually spent some time tonight, chat, getting most of the videos uh in order. Getting most of the videos in order. I think they got my shit tapped, man. They got shit coming on and all type of weird stuff. But with that, we're gonna get right into it. For those that don't have a clue what the Constitution is or what the Bill of Rights is, let's actually let's actually look it up real quick. And again, if you have questions, comments, please say something as we're going. I'm going to try to make sure I answer them in real time. If I don't, I definitely will get back into to them in the chat. Bill of Rights, First Amendment, religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Third Amendment, quartering troops. Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. Fifth Amendment, grand jury, double jeopardy, self incrimination, due process. Sixth Amendment, criminal prosecutions, jury trial, right to confront and Seventh Amendment, jury trial. Eighth Amendment, excess bail, fines, cruel and unusual punishment. Ninth Amendment, non-enumerated rights. 10th Amendment, rights reserved to states or people. Seems pretty simple, but it almost looks like the First Amendment, when it comes to speech, press, assembly, and petition, is no longer legitimate. The Third Amendment is questionable, and we'll get into that when we talk about what's happening in Chicago. The Fourth Amendment is impossible to have because now you're talking about search and seizure. The Fifth Amendment, self incrimination, is no longer applicable. The Eighth Amendment is questionable. And remember, the president has pushed no cash bail. Let's get into the Constitution real quick. So, the Constitution, a lot of people don't actually pay attention to because there's several parts to it. So, you have the preamble, which is pretty much the framework of your living laws. And I say living laws because you have states and you have cities that can actually constitute laws as long as they don't violate the living law. So, the preamble starts off with we the people of the United States form the perfect nation. Article 1 is somewhat boring. It goes through legislative powers that are, again, questionable right now, but I'm not going to read those powers. I'm going to actually get to some that are important for us. Again, I'm still in the first, so it's giving you all the powers of the House of Representatives. It's giving you powers of Congress. But then we start getting down to Article 2. And again, Article 1 gives you all of your powers of Congress, House of Representatives, and a few other things that deal with, what do I want to say? Uh, Sea property and land. Um, Article 2, executive powers should be vested in the President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during a term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. So it gives you the election process, which shouldn't be questionable, but we already see Trump 2028 hacks. We already see commentary from national media about the possibility of him running. This again is madness across the board because either the Constitution is valid and is not in question, going back to freedom of speech, and we've seen a senator in the U.S., a senator or representative, I have the video, in the U.S. Congress file an act to preserve freedom of speech and those that talk against the president, which again will be madness because it's a constitutional right. And you cannot have a law that oversees a constitutional right unless the constitutional right is no longer a constitutional right. But then what valid provision or what valid leverage does that law actually have? And I would say absolutely none. And again, if you have questions, I'm going to try to answer them as we go. And I'm still in Article 2 right now. And I'm going to get to the videos, but I want to give the foundation to what the Constitution says and what we're seeing in front of us. It also talks about, still in Article 2, electors shall meet with the state of representatives. It talks about the timeline of the electors. The president shall be commander in chief. This is section 2. This becomes important with what we're seeing across the board and how we're seeing constitutional rights be violated. And just to give you an example before we get into videos, in Chicago, they have a state, Chicago, right? Illinois. They have a governor, they have a mayor of a city, mayor of the city of Chicago in this case, and they have a National Guard. The National Guard will be not Chicago, excuse me, Illinois' National Guard. It will follow underneath the governor. We've seen a federal judge, rule against the president and say that he couldn't militarize how he's been doing. And then we've seen the governor of Texas send his National Guards up there. Wouldn't that constitute, I haven't got down to that part in the Constitution, but wouldn't that constitute a violation when you talk about sending troops in peacetime? But let's get to it because I'm jumping ahead. Should have power and the vice, this is still section 2, to consent with the Senate. He shall, from time to time, excuse me, I wanted to jump past this here. Going back to section 2 at the top, the president shall be commander in chief of the Army and Navy of the United States, of the militia of several states. When called into actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each executive department upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices. And he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for officers against the United States. He shall have the power by and with advice and consent of the Senate. And jump down. The president shall have the power to fill up all vacancies. Notice most of his power is contingent, not obligated, but contingent upon consent. We're not seeing that right now. And by not seeing that, are we operating or living in a lawless government right now? And if we are living in a lawless government, how should you actually operate? Should you be operating as normal as you're seeing all of your constitutional rights dismantled, violated, in particular when we talk about due process, protection of paper? There's a couple more I want to get in here before I get into the videos. Um, this gives you the judicial power. I'm not going to actually read that. I did want to get into this one. Article 4, Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. When we talk about that, we're talking about freedom given rights underneath the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So if citizens of each state should be entitled to all privileges and immunities, how is it that we're seeing citizens that are innocent? I think it was one more I wanted to get into, but I want to get in. Yeah, hold on. It was one more that I wanted to get. Getting into the Constitution real quick. First Amendment. Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. I'm going to show you some videos in a minute. Or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition. So it's a whole bunch of stuff in there that should be protected out the gate, right? Prohibiting the free speech, should be able to do that. And that would actually include flag burning, but the president, and I have that video, has already politicized the arresting of people with that. Free speech would also go to being able to question law enforcement or perceive law enforcement. We'll see videos of law enforcement macing people for just talking to them. And law enforcement, in this case, I'm actually talking about ICE. We also see videos of Chicago PD getting maced by ICE. Second Amendment, a regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. This is dangerous because what does that actually mean? Does that constitute what should be where they at? What should be hate groups? Does that constitute ICE? Does that constitute the Patriot Front or America's First Foundation or the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan or the National Socialist Movement or the Proud Boys? Or, right? Does that constitute any of them? I would say no, because every one that I just read is not classified as a hate group. But what is classified as a hate group is wrong one, excuse me. And they changed the definition of this, which is funny because I've read it about 3 or 4 times on here, and it actually changed a little bit. But when we talk about Antifa, this is a hate group. Antifa political activism includes nonviolent methods of direct action such as posters, flyer campaigns, mutual aid speeches, protest marches, community organizing. Some who utilize digital activism, doxing, harassment. They also do physical violence, property damage. They're extremists, including neo-Nazis and white supremacist groups. But these groups, again, aren't actually actively being sought by the FBI, but the 110,000 gang members is, right? And those again would be the Patriot Front, America's First, Ku Klux Klan. And I'm sorry if I'm missing stuff because I've been reading, but I see y'all talking in there. So let me get into some of these videos to prove what is happening and what is not happening when we talk about our constitutional rights, the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment. And the reason I said the Second Amendment is dangerous, if ICE is allowed or considered a regulated militia, what does that actually mean by what we're seeing? Yesterday, I told you about the video with the lady that was shot. I have that video for you. No soldier shall in the time of peace be quartered in any house. Fourth Amendment, the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches, seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime. Sixth Amendment, in all criminal prosecutions, I don't want that, but I already started. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. Eighth Amendment, I jumped to 7. Eighth Amendment, sex of bail. And then we can get into the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Skip a few words. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person with this in its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. Now we can argue all day long if black folks have actually seen any of that. But the fact that it's law is law. But this is what we see on the national scene. This is what we allow. And before I play this clip, personally, I would never trust a black man with blonde hair. That has nothing to do with what he's doing.
Because of that, let me just start by saying that you're here this afternoon because I signed the ICE agreement.
And I don't actually know if his hair is
Yes, I
blonde. It
signed
just
the
looks
damn
blonde.
thing because we really had to. We were put in a tough spot. I can't let our entire board of county commissioners and myself be removed from office. I say that with all sincerity because of the role, the responsibilities that we have here within this community to take care of our community and look out for our residents. I did not want to be in a position where the governor will have the opportunity to insert his minions in the roles to lead this county. Because of that, with advice of the county.
Now this is in Florida. I'm gonna play it one more time just so people can fully hear it. But he sounds saddened and forced to have to sign the agreement. Well, this is problematic across the board. It's problematic for those people that live in Florida because by his articulation, the whole governmental body was in distress and probably was going to be removed. But when does subjugation become consent? Because if you fully object to something, why bend? Why bow? If it's a legitimate illegal process, why give up the throne? Why give up the seat? The more one consents to that which is not right, authoritarian or whatever we want to call it, authoritarianism, then that's what we get, right? Let me play it one more time just so y'all can hear him. And peep his sentiment. And again, I don't know if his hair is really blonde. It just looks blonde to me.
Because of that, let me just start by saying that you're here this afternoon because I signed uh, the ICE agreement. Yes, I signed the damn thing because we really had to. We were put in a tough spot. I can't let our entire board of county commissioners and myself be removed from office. I say that,
And I feel him. If that's what he really thinks the threat is, but then I don't feel it. Because sometimes you have to dig in the sand and you have to draw a line and once that fence is broken, it is what it is. That doesn't seem like that'd be constitutional. Before I get into some more, I wanted to make a um I wanted to make it right from what I did yesterday. Yesterday I said Ohio. It wasn't actually Ohio. It was Oregon.
defend,
This is the governor I was talking
trained
about. Not
upon,
governor, this is the general I was talking about.
and I will provide my advice to the Title X commander that Oregon National Guard men and women they serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so, by serving this mission, they will be protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. They're trained upon, and I will provide my advice to the Title X commander that Oregon National Guard men and women
Now, I don't know that
serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and
he may be nervous just because he's in the hearing, but it sounds like he's nervous because he knows what he's doing is right, but it's gonna come with a hell of a reprimand. He's the only active general that I heard that said that. He's all right. Look, man, we gonna protect the protesters, knowing what that means, right? So big kudos, and again, I apologize for giving Ohio credit. That was Oregon. But I said illegal arrest, right? I said due process was getting broken.
Immigrant advocates in Chicago, the ruling finding ICE is conducting illegal arrests in violation of a consent decree that limits warrantless arrests in the Chicago area of responsibility. That includes Illinois and 5 neighboring states. Collateral arrests, or people arrested while ICE is out patrolling the city, have been a major part of
You know, for all of those that said they're just targeting immigrants, collateral arrest again is what? Anybody that's black and brown that happens to be walking down the street. Or if you white and your tan is too funky, you may actually get snatched up too.
Operation Midway Blitz, and now a federal judge has imposed new restrictions on agents. Attorneys with the National Immigrant Justice Center in Chicago say the number of warrantless arrests in just the past 2 weeks have skyrocketed.
Listen
Their
to
case
these
against
numbers.
ICE starting with 26 people, now up to at least 200.
What we have seen now on a much larger scale
Cut it out.
federal agents indiscriminately stopping and arresting individuals without warrants.
A family scooped up at the bean late last month. Collateral warrantless arrest during a raid at a home in Elgin with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem
I
present.
like how they got a cute terminology for it now. Collateral arrest. It's fucking illegal. Due process, right? Didn't we just go to the Constitution? Due process, right to papers, right to be secure in my person and property. Damn. Right? The rights of all citizens of the state.
Posting this video on social media.
He actually had his work permit to be working here. legally.
Alliance father, Abella Roscoe, picked up earlier this year. ICE reports reviewed by the I-Team confirming agents did not have a warrant, instead creating one after taking him into custody.
My father was the main breadwinner of the family, so having
But who checks who? They're a federal agency that is literally now being circumvented by the president's office because ICE was the agency before Trump was president, not the proliferation of untrained, hillbillyish agents that we're seeing targeting communities of color. But it was an agency. So who's responsible?
him gone, it's hard.
All examples of what U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings ruled is an ongoing pattern of ICE violating the terms of the consent decree. NIJC attorneys successfully arguing agents produced no warrants, civil or criminal, for the arrests. Cummings taking particular issue with instructions to ICE agents to carry blank I-200 forms, civil immigration warrants, on their person in the field.
All right. Where are my and I ain't saying being out there protesting because that would be some Antifa shit. I ain't saying make flyers because again that'd be some Antifa shit. But where are all of my so-called activists and neo revolutionaries? And I say neo revolutionaries because those that know me, I believe in revolutionary actions, and I believe some are neo revolutionaries just for the simple fact they think the shit's cool. And I'm still lightweight watching what I say because I know I'm on camera, and I encourage everybody to watch what they say because we're seeing blanketed targeting over anybody. I got those videos in here too. We're seeing anybody that opposes or speaks out on the platform starts to have issues. We've seen from my FBI director that all summer long they went in all 55 states. All right? And they did what? They watched the violent crime and the social activity. That's a lot of arrests about to come. Drug dealers have already been classified as terrorists, but people aren't paying attention. It don't mean that you sitting on keys. Nah, Cuddy. Those 2 balls and that pack you got is enough. Because you know that would be part of that criminal network. But I'm theorizing on that. Let's get back to it though. I do want to play this one right now because it goes into sync with what I'm hitting on. States. So you have the supremacy clause. Supremacy clause gives feds authority, federal government authority. States fall up underneath it, right? Then you have general regulatory jurisdictional governments, all right? The cities, your counties, and all of that good stuff. The supremacy clause does trump the states, but the states are supposed to have state rights. Now I'm talking to my Republicans. Where are all my Republicans that bang for state rights? States should be independent. They should be able to do what they want to do. Isn't this
It's the government.
adversely against state rights?
My permission and against my vigorous objections, the president has federalized 300 Illinois National Guard military troops and hundreds of National Guard members from Texas, and he has ordered them to activate for duty in Illinois. I have called upon Governor Abbott to immediately withdraw his support for this decision and refuse.
I want to get right to your comment. You know they've always had a way of going around the Constitution because the Constitution was actually meant for Europeans only. You are 100% correct, right? No ifs, ands, and buts who it's meant for. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm an avid Second Amendment proponent. I say that to say that guns wasn't meant for black people either. I'm Native and black, Aboriginal. I know for a fact half the shit that I've taught myself isn't meant for anybody that has any melanin in their skin. The order of war teaches you to use that which is used against you for your benefit. So even though the Constitution wasn't written for melanated folks, women, or anybody else that fell outside of the European mantra, that doesn't mean that it's not applicable and usable, right? I always talk about observation and participation, and I'm going to give a loose quote from a song that I did before, just because it goes right with this. I said America was founded on robbing, pillage, and stealing. Wasn't nothing about that line. The founders came over here, robbed, pillaged, and steal, and then they created their own rules and regulations, right? The laws. Uh, by the very fact that they was colonies, and then they broke off, let you know that they wasn't following the paradigm and the orders. And then they created laws. Laws are applicable and defensible by those that are willing to stand on it. Those that aren't willing to stand on it is subject to the interpretation of the judicial arena. And this, where's it at? This actually proves that point right here. I can say less.
We've got a verdict, Ari Melber.
We are looking at count 1, guilty.
Count 2, also guilty.
Count 3, guilty.
We got time tonight.
Count 4, guilty.
Count 5, guilty.
Count 6, guilty.
Count 7, guilty.
Count 8, guilty. That is yet another charge. 8.
I'm not talking about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Count 9, guilty.
Count 10, guilty. Another felony.
Count 11, guilty.
Count 12.
I'm not talking about Tony either,
Count
man.
13, guilty.
Count 14, guilty. Count 15, guilty.
16, guilty. Count 17, guilty.
I wasn't even
Count
gonna play this.
18, guilty.
But, you know,
Count 19, guilty.
Count 20, guilty.
Count 21, guilty.
So is count 22, also guilty.
Count 23, guilty.
Count 24,
Guilty. Count 25, guilty.
count 26, guilty. Another felony.
like, cut it out, bro.
Count 27, we're seeing that on the screen, guilty.
Count 28, guilty.
Those are the first 28 felony
Oh, no.
found
Because
guilty.
all 34 of the
34
motherfucker was guilty.
to felony count.
But yet y'all still allow him to sit in a seat of extreme authority and create dissent across the board and break the Constitution because we say, you know, that's his seat. But wasn't this country founded on those, and isn't it in the Constitution? I didn't read that part. I should have got to it. But isn't it in the Constitution, in the preamble, that talks about what one should do in the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice, life, and liberty, and happiness? What one should do once a government becomes, paraphrasing, irate and tenor, irate. All right, so let me rule of law. I asked a few questions a few nights ago. And again, I'm staying on right where you was at with who it was meant for. The rule of law and subjugation. So let's say that the rule of law is to beat black folks and to hang. That's the rule of law. And let's say you one of those black folks. Do you follow that law? Or do you do enough to create a new paradigm of laws? Like, look here, that law's fucking crazy. It may benefit you. It's cool. It may be your rule and your regulation. But in the vein of being an American, I have to follow the law. And what the law says is that once this shit becomes ultimately oppressive, I'm supposed to, because this is my right to, or fuck it, if we want to say religious, where does it say God's children should be subject to violations? Doesn't it say that the The light of the world is in you and you should let that light shine. Well, how can you let that light shine hiding behind the carpet, hiding behind the blanket, hiding behind the regulations? Didn't Joshua or Jesus, wasn't he known for not following the laws? Right? We kicking over tabernacles and tables. We organizing in the woods. We throwing the money in the air. Shit ain't mine. Right? So when we talk about what is law, we have rights. And our rights actually give us authority to challenge unrighteous authority. Or we can allow, I don't want to go back to him because I got another one for you. Or we can allow, let me see, which one am I in? Let me go here real quick. The staging of our Attorney General, who is supposed to be our Attorney General. Yes, it's a partisan appointment, but in partisan politics, you're supposed to have nonpartisan um employees, right? So the legislative staff, the staff that actually draws the legislation, the secretaries, uh not necessarily reporters, but the reporters to an extent where they're supposed to be fair in the allocation of names and representation and all that good stuff.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this.
She's the attorney general, bro. How can you be in a congressional hearing? I got more on that, but how can you be in a congressional hearing and refuse to answer? How? How is that possible? How? 32 seconds. I need to go here. This is the round table. This was yesterday.
To all Americans that it should be clear to all Americans that we have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa that you've heard a lot about lately, and I've heard a lot about them for 10 years. And other far-left extremists have been carrying out a campaign of violence against ICE agents and other officials charged with enforcing federal law. In Chicago, anarchists have surveilled at least 4 local ICE facilities and posted diagrams of the buildings online, meaning nothing but bad.
Pictures are now diagrams. And we're not talking about bomb silos, motherfuckers in the basement with glistening mixing shit. We're talking about people staging property with water. Shit like that. If you look at, I'm gonna get into the videos.
Accompanied by photos of specific ICE agents that they're targeting, one in particular who's the top person and a great person, great picture. It should be clear to all.
I want to hit that too. And I appreciate it, man. It's all God. But we can't even vote having certain felonies in Missouri. It is a restoration state, so there's a lot of restoration of rights that you can get, even when we talk about the right to bear arms with felonies. Once somebody is absolved after PNP, probation, and parole, they should have their right to vote. There may be a state or two that has complications, but overall, you should be able to have your right to vote after you're done with probation.
Of left-wing violence and Antifa-inspired terror has been escalating for nearly a decade. At universities, Antifa has organized riotous mobs to attack campus speakers. I see it all the time.
I hear this.
Riotous mobs to attack campus speakers. I see it all the time. And these are agitators, anarchists, and they're paid. And you find
Now, we've had a slew of HBCUs that have been targeted. But we also had a dismantling of racial protective language. And we've had no conversation from the president's office over the racially targeted attacks on the HBCUs. And as a nation, we don't say shit. As a nation, we sit back and allow the president to conduct the Oval Office like a soprano show,
Republicans, right?
right?
We'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly, because that's the way it works. They wanted to do this, so we'll get a little taste of their own medicine. But Chuck Schumer proclaimed this morning that every day gets better for them.
Really?
No, it's actually getting worse for them. And they're having a rebellion in the Democrat Party because they want to stop. I mean, you saw all of Schumer's, I watched last night, like 10 different times over the years. He said, you can't shut down government, you can't shut down, and now he's the one that shut it down.
Now, I'm not, again, on here promoting Democrat or Republicans at all. But this, from the president sitting in the Oval Office, saying that we're going to target programs that Democrats like, some Republicans like, in a retaliatory manner, is not only reason for everybody to be like, I'm no longer going to operate underneath business as usual, and we need to actually remove him because as people, we shouldn't allow the top office to cut programs retaliatory. Now, what programs are we talking about? Well, we know what programs we're talking about. We talking about Medicaid programs. We talking about insolvency programs. We're talking about aid programs. Those are the programs that's going to get cut. The programs that's going to ultimately hurt poor Republican states and Democrat cities. Right? The masses. But everybody is cool with it because, it's Democrat and Republican. That's the dumbest shit I've ever
Telling
seen.
some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly, because that's the way
Even going back to my man's comment about the Constitution wasn't written for us and it was actually written for Europeans. And you're right. But all white folks wasn't Europeans at first. It wasn't until the color lines became the supreme financial benefiting factor. And we're talking about the color lines from the first time Columbus came here and he saw those copper people with hair that looked like horse hair. And that's not my words. That's the shit that's in the Spanish archives. But once it became the color line, yeah, it accelerated. But before that, it was colonization. This is, again, going back to authoritarian rule, what we're allowing to happen, and this shit's gonna hit every state. Like we can look at Chicago and we can be like, yeah, that's Chicago. Dude, Missouri, Kansas City is probably, I ain't drove there in a minute, but it's probably about 8 hours from KC to Chicago. Just drive. You know what I mean? Maybe 9. Maybe I'm driving a little fast. But it's probably about 8 hours, 8, 9 hours to leave KC and to hit Chicago. Depending on your car, you can do that in one tank, 1.5 tanks. St. Louis is already primed for this, thanks to the senator who influx cash for the FBI and ICE in St. Louis and is targeting KC because he doesn't like the mayor and using crime as a backdrop.
Obstruction, manipulation, and inconsistencies are making people question the government's version of what happened.
Y'all hear that? I don't know why this is so low.
Tomorrow morning, Miramar Martinez was following ICE agents in Brighton
on a paraphrase as it's going, they was following the ICE agents. And this is what made them get shot. The ICE agents reported that they had been boxed in and targeted by these individuals, that they had weapons and all that good shit. It is a little low, so I apologize, but here it goes.
Not Broadview's Homeland Security claims she was allegedly alerting residents to ICE patrols in the area, and behind her was Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. He followed in a separate SUV. Federal officials said in tweets and in their narrative to the media that agents were, quote, boxed in by 10 cars. That one driver who ran them was armed with a semi-automatic weapon, but witnesses say agents were not boxed in, and police scanner audio confirms Martinez's gun stayed in her purse. She's a U.S. citizen with a valid concealed carry license and wasn't charged for having the weapon. Photos show Martinez's dark-colored SUV hit on the passenger side. Ruiz's black SUV was damaged in front and only minor damage to a silver federal vehicle. Martinez was
Now,
shot.
it's not out of the ordinary for law enforcement reports the conflict with what happened. All right, that shit happens all the time, and I'm not saying it's right because it's hella wrong. But it's not something that doesn't happen. But in this case, you got motherfuckers with masks on that nobody knows who they are, and they shooting people indiscriminately with no identifiable jurisdiction above them. That's fucking scary, and that's madness. And the fact that again we're operating as business as normal, talking about the feds is shut down, and then the president is making this happen. But this isn't an issue, right? This isn't authoritarian. This isn't
The
called to
U.S.
be.
Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Seibert, has told his office he is resigning after increasing pressure from Donald Trump. Sources tell MSNBC that staffers in the office were distraught at the news, some even crying when they found out. Seibert's resignation comes as Donald Trump has become increasingly frustrated that Seibert would not prosecute the New York Attorney General Letitia James on trumped-up mortgage fraud charges. He refused to
approved by two.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that.
Not prosecute the New York Attorney General Letitia James on trumped-up mortgage fraud charges. He refused to charge because his investigation could not bear out the accusations. The resignation came after Trump was asked directly about the issue in the Oval Office just a few hours ago and said, quote, I want him out.
Are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia.
And then we go to the Constitution. I don't want to pull it back up because I don't want to be looking for it. But didn't we go to the Constitution and it hit the president's powers? Nowhere in there did I see the president's power was to utilize the office of presidency to dictate other states' attorney generals. Even when we talk about the mortgage fraud, and she's not the only one, there's been several prominent Democrats that have been targeted over, again, what they just said, trumped up mortgage charges that can't actually be proven, but they've been legally targeted. This is things that we've seen in history and movies. This shit right here is things that not only should we be concerned about, but I was taught, let me stop this real quick. I was taught when I was young to always pay attention to what people say and believe what people say, no matter how crazy that shit sounds. Even if that person isn't thinking they're going to act on it, they thought enough about it to say it. And the fact this is the underlying sentiment, you shouldn't be in the inner city and thinking this shit's not real. If you live in Missouri, there's already documented cases of them using St. Louis as a testing ground for chemicals. They spray motherfuckers in the inner city. And it's not even a question, right? It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not one of those things that you just talk about and I don't even know the shit's dude, it's factual. It's factual. It's been in committee hearings. It's been documented. There's all type of stuff on it. Just look it up. There's, and it was the government. It was the military. They sprayed them in St. Louis to see what the conditions of an urban compact area would be like. So it's not unfathomable that those in power would utilize power to restructure the rules of engagement in front of the masses because they know the masses are going to follow the rules of engagement. They may complain about the reconstruction, but they're not going to get engaged with it. They're going to follow whatever the rules are, though. The rules may say that you have freedom today, but tomorrow it's going to say you have to hop on your right foot, and you motherfuckers going to do it.
The cities of training grounds that were military, national military, because we're going into the Chicago races. What's in our hand, where in the Bushmark? The Warsaw, different.
Fucking brave. Hey, and I can't paraphrase this right, but I can remember it good enough. Because he said they're brave. They're fucking brave. Tupac, a long time ago, said something to the fact of this. The police and SWAT, they come in here and they got they militarized, they got their bulletproof vests on, they got their shotguns, their AR-15s, and all of that good shit to come in here and get the motherfuckers that we live next door to. Right? The same killers that they put all this army fatigue on and these triple metal vests on is the same people that we're living next to. So if you see the inner city as a war zone, then that means everybody in this motherfucker has to be seen as a combatant. Right? In war, you can't observationally tell who's bad and who's not when the culture identifying marker is universal. Same clothes, same talk, same music. Right. At times you can't tell who's Latino and who's not, depending on I shouldn't say Latino, I should say Latin, depending on where they're from. Cubans, Haitians, right? I think I just jumped past it. And keep me on time, chat, because I'm kind of running through some stuff. I played that one, and I wanted to hit that one. Just for shits and giggles, as I'm looking for the video. I got some videos of him, but I just ain't played them. Again, this is your senator, Missouri Senator, city's National Guard's president in D.C. is option, cites National Guard's president in D.C. as option to crucial curtail crime in Kansas City. I'm gonna say crucial. To crucial crime in Kansas. I know it says curtail, but I'm gonna say crucial. To crucial crime in Kansas City. Right. This is the optics of last week. They're priming for war. And they're talking about peace across the board, right? They just supposed to have peace somewhere over in the Middle East. But the inner cities are the targeted war zones. The inner cities need to be liberated by motherfuckers that look like this. Get out your way so y'all can see it. Or these ICE agents or these nationals. Can y'all tell the difference in their uniform? Are those ICE agents or those nationals? Let's look. Are those ICE agents or those nationals?
Oh,
Turn this down real quick. What you're seeing in this video is a lady being pulled out of her car as they're going to school. Not going to school, going to pick up their kids from school. You can hear her screaming. You can see the Good Samaritan videoing. And it's good, you know, we got video evidence, documentation. But I'm telling you, if you see a motherfucker dragging me, dogs, do not video, because if I'm able to get out of the hog tie, I'm coming after you. I wonder how many black people was drugging off in the past and people just watch. Right? They don't know her. They don't know what she's on. They seen her. She looks Latino. They follow her to the school, snatched her ass up. You know, and I don't have the videos for that today. I don't want to be wrong in the state, but I know it's been in the swamp. And I want to say it's been 8 or 9 black men found in the fucking bayou. I kind of want to say it's in Houston. I want to say it's the Houston bayou, but I don't want to be wrong. And I wasn't going there tonight. But that's a lot of motherfuckers that you know, out, you know. Ain't there been some people that got fucked up going to the mountains, not Utah, North Carolina? I don't know. I ain't seen it in the news though. So shit. And I'm not laughing at them at all. It's the fact I ain't seen it in the news. But maybe the Speaker of the House is 100% right. And I actually agree with him 1,000% on this statement. Maybe this is what we see. Maybe this is what's happening.
There is one sad and inescapable fact that no one can forget here. This shutdown is nothing more than political cover.
I actually agree with him. I think the shutdown is political cover for the rapid the rapid reconstruction of Orthodox services. So if it keeps going the way that it's going, because we're seeing airports having issues because they don't have the FCC people there. We're seeing what should be a violation. Let me go back to the Constitution. What should be a violation. Hold on, let me make sure I got the right one because I don't want to read the wrong one. But it deals with troops being placed in times of peace. And if y'all know it, say it in the chat so I ain't got to look at it. But you can have 34. He had 34 felonies, right? Don't get it wrong. It's not 33. Do not disrespect the gangsterism. It's 34. And that was only that. He actually has more than that. And several lawsuits pending and some other stuff that he's never gonna probably answer to. Where is it at? Man, is it in the preamble? Maybe in the. Let me go all the way up. Maybe in the preamble. I know it's number. Yeah, it has to be in the preamble. I can't read this one because this one's important. Section 3, treason against the United States shall consist only of levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort. Wouldn't the enemies of the United States be Antifa right now? No person shall be convicted of treason unless on testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in court. But I'm looking for the one that deals with troops, and I'll find it. It must not be meant for me to find it right now. I was looking for the one with troops in wartime. Let's go to the Third Amendment. And no soldier shall, in the time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in the time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. But if inner cities are war zones, and if the mayor of Chicago is creating ice-free zones which could constitute the need for a state of emergency. And we already had unconstitutional shifting of soldiers from Texas to Chicago. Are we already at war and the masses is too dumb to realize it? And like the speaker said, the shutdown is just political cover. And that wasn't my words, that's his words. And he didn't necessarily say it to the shutdown, but
internally investigate those involved. We've already disbanded the Public Corrections Squad at WFO. We've already jettisoned these people at the FBI that were involved in the politicization of law enforcement. And if there needs to be a criminal investigation, you better believe it, we're on it.
they're targeting
Step back and think about it for a second.
everybody. Political opponents, law enforcement that isn't compliant.
Assaulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States.
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House. Ranking member.
Side note, Young Thug should have watched this shit before he went to trial.
Why do you want to keep this secret? So American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they're going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago.
Thanks.
Protect your citizens. President Trump will.
Been on its committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal.
No, that's the kind of answer we expect when American people don't give a fuck that their country is being reformatted in front of their eyes. And for anybody that was worried about slavery, what the fuck you think you about to go into now? Right? Like, this is the beautiful thing about history. We can sit back and we can theorize what can happen, or we can look at patterns and be like, that shit probably gonna happen. Right? Throughout history, when we see shit like this go down, the weakest always get hurt the most, right? And the weakest is always the biggest masses. It would be interesting if the weakest masses, largest masses, actually study history and be like, whoa, 1 and 1 is 2. And if I don't want this shit to happen, I should operate this way. Subjugation is a form of consent. Not saying that you're walking down the street and you got 50 people that jump out the bushes with AKs, knives, and bats, that you're supposed to just, go all out because you're probably going to die. That's real. But you're probably going to be subjugated to whatever they want to happen to you if you don't die in that scenario. And I'm not saying you should go out and die. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is 1 and 1 is always going to be 2 or 3, depending on your mouth. And the masses, I'm going to play this one again. We played this one last night, but just to prove the point.
Is indeed what's happening. This, of course, Southwest Jeff, it's been sitting here in the run-up area for a long time. I think they're kind of confused or kind of surreal. This is unprecedented at Burbank Airport right now. We're just talking to them last half hour and everything seemed normal. We were talking to a controller. And then when we were coming back from downtown LA, we had seen that Governor Newsom was saying that there are no controllers at Burbank Airport. And we can confirm that that is indeed.
Your tax dollars hasn't stopped. In fact, you're paying more now than what you was paying a few years ago. You're paying more when you go to the grocery store, and it's all predicated off of what we're allowing to happen. No, no in betweens. No, no nothing else. And I think we about to I think I hit all of them so far. I may have one or two more. We'll definitely get into those tomorrow. Like I said, we like to try to keep these to about an hour. And again, I'm not encouraging people to do any Antifa shit. But if you don't want this to be you or your family member or your cousin, stay the hell out of Burlington. That's how you fix it. Just stay the hell out of Burlington. You've been seeing people as of lately talk about, I don't want to go outside after dark. We should stay inside after dark. If you stay inside after 8:30, you don't have to worry about, potentially just getting pulled over. All right, man. If that's what y'all own, and that's what you want, and that's what you like, more power to you. Uh, I grew up in Kansas City where you couldn't go past 63rd Street for a while. You get in the car, you hit 63rd Street over there by Raytown, and you was guaranteed to get pulled over. I wasn't cool with that shit then.
It's also meet grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're gonna carve our shave our beards and adhere to standards. It's like the broken windows theory of police.
And I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with understanding what beards mean in professional settings when you regulate individuals not to have it. It sounds like military ethnic cleansing. Look it up. Look up all the states and police departments where black officers have sued because of the hair issue, facial hair issue. Shit goes all the way back to the 80s and 70s. Look up the suits that actually happened in the military. There's a reason why he's talking about we're going back to standards. Right? But again, people, let's stop it.
This is some sort of cooked up demand.
This
I
is
got a
real.
text from a buddy of mine. He got a letter, 40% increase for his father's premiums. This is not a talking point. This is not an allegation. This is literally what's happening. And 40%, you should be lucky if it's a 40% increase. The average increase is going to be 114%.
We heard from the president yesterday that he didn't like Obamacare and that the premiums may go up, but he's going to see if I can find the videos I'm talking. The premiums may go up, but, it'd be better, and he's going to make it cheaper in the end. And again, I don't know how the fuck you make something higher and then cheaper. I don't know.
To a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and otherwise, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And we're cutting that. We can do
Wasn't
things
that the same excuse they used to furlough all those federal workers a few months ago? And as I play this video and get ready to close out here in a second, remember, he's only been in office for what month is this? He's only been in office for like 7 months. 9 months, 10 months. Not even a full 10 months. And this is where we're at. In 10 months, we've heard conversation about 2028. Oh, let me play that one. And I may do that one on the next episode. We've also heard the president in several different settings jokingly talk about how real it would be not to have an election in 2028. Let's say we was in the war. You guys do realize that wars, or domestic and foreign, right? I do realize that wars are domestic and foreign.
Citizens.
Right? He's still speaking Spanish. They just let him up. They don't know if he's a citizen or not. And I only saw that again because there is no reason or rationale in how they're operating. And we're seeing that time and time and time again from elected officials that are lightweight speaking out, but consenting so they don't lose their position. Yeah, I needed this one. This one, again, shows how the over office is being ran.
That's likely because they're even taught. You know, honestly, this human this human start. And even the other two transformation science. Well, one of the two studies that show children who were circumcised early and tolerate autism. And it's highly likely because they're even taught.
Now, I don't actually know about this one. I don't know if circumcision leads to autism, but I do know when my sons had to get circumcised, I was like, man, this is a messed up process. It's just I was like, that's messed up. Then you put the little clip on. So I don't know what, but I wanted to show the optics. This is daily. Daily, you have a White House, almost daily. You have a White House breakdown like this, like a throne room. People understand observation leads to participation, and the more we observe the presidency's office rocking like that, and we allow our directors to get away with this.
FBI agent to help them win government.
I must have already been in the clip. Hold on.
So I'm sorry, look, I did nothing criminal, I did nothing. So I'm sorry, look, I did nothing criminal, I did nothing illegal. And it's hit piece after hit piece after hit piece.
You took 50,000 in cash in a bag from an undercover FBI agent to help them win government.
All right, so we seen the president with 34 felonies, but this is the director of ICE, man. And yes, the 50,000 bribe was caught on tape. Yes, he was not the primary target of the investigation. He got drug into the investigation. I can't remember all the details, but he got drug into the investigation somehow by hearing about it or being available and wanted the money. And I'll do a story on that. But just for one more time, this is the motherfucker that's director.
So I'm sorry, look, I did nothing criminal, I did nothing illegal. And it's hit piece after hit piece after hit piece.
Circumcision leading to autism is so ridiculous. It's him talking against Muslims and Jews. You know, it probably is. I just don't know. That's the first time I've ever heard that shit. And the fact he said it in there like it was science, like I never knew there was a coalition. I never heard that at all. And when I said about the process, I did think that process was messed up though, honestly. And let me get ready to get off, man. I think I have one more with the director that I want to show in relevance of tonight's segment. But if I don't see it, we not gonna stress on the chat. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I started labeling these, so I'm getting a little bit better of being able to pop in and pop out. Give me a couple more segments and we should be driving smooth. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We will be doing some special events with the subscribers here real soon. We also plan on doing a lot of yeah, we'll go ahead and hit this.
Administration. Can you give us a step on the amount of code administration was to fire during the shutdown of hundreds of thousands?
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands. It's a very good question, and that's something that the Office of Management and Budget and the entire team at the White House here, again, is unfortunately having to work on today. These discussions and these conversations, these meetings would not be happening if the Democrats had voted to keep the government open.
This is what you call bullshit when you want to do something. You know, had you moved your car earlier, you already want to do it. You was waiting on that car to be parked there. Me moving the car had nothing to do with what you was choosing to do. So let's stop being stupid. Let's stop acting ignorant. Let's stop thinking the shutdown is anything other than this.
There is one sad and inescapable fact that no one can forget here. This shutdown is nothing more than political cover.
Real talk. And with that, y'all been watching Politics is War. Tune in. We'll be back on Monday unless some crazy shit happens over the weekend. I guess I will leave it, go out with the ICE recruiting advertisement. I believe they're giving people $50,000. I actually like this advertisement. I got a real one of theirs too. But might as well.
Well, Castro's getting away.
Fairly soon.